Hello. How's it going, Dr. Cubitt?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing great. And welcome to all of our listeners that are joining us today on our Facebook Live Q&A with Dr. Cubitt. It's great to have you guys here. Maybe if you could just uh, type in the comments, let us know where you guys are coming in from, just so we kind of know where you're at. What state are you from? I don't know how your weather is, Dr. Cubitt. It's not been awful. It was cold a little bit ago, a few days ago, but we've got a little bit of a break now, which has been kind of nice on our end.
It's classic Virginia. It's been raining all day.
Oh,
And it was supposed to be warm, but it is not warm.
no. Almost seems like starting to hit the spring weather a little bit, maybe.
Yeah. It's supposed to. We got a
Awesome.
couple from
Oh,
Virginia
we've
all
got
commiserate with me.
nice. So we have Delaware, Illinois,
Someone from
Maine,
Florida.
Florida, New York, Fredericksburg, Texas, Michigan, Sherwood, Oregon. We have people coming in from all over the place to join us tonight. This is awesome. Green Bay, Wisconsin, 5 inches of snow so
Yeah.
far. Oh,
See,
Kim.
at least you have something to show for it, though. Here in
Yeah.
Virginia, it's just
At
cold.
least you have some snow and not just wet mud.
30 degrees in Oklahoma. Yee. A friend of mine just came back from South Dakota, and he said it was cold.
Oh, well, it's so great to have you guys here and joining us tonight. We're really excited. This time, I know in the past we've selected a couple winners, but we're going to have 3 winners that we're going to be choosing to send some free Stanley free product coupons to, and we're really excited to do that. So first of all, we need you guys to share this Facebook Live video right now on your Facebook page. Make sure it's public so we can see. And one person will be chosen from sharing this video. So please share that now. Another winner will be selected at the end of the at the end of the live, and that's going to be just for hanging out with us and attending. We'll pick a random person to win, and then also at the end, we're going to be sending out just a really short survey to help provide some feedback to us. Let us know what you thought of the Facebook Live, how we can improve it, the things that you like, the things you didn't like. And so one person who completes that survey will also win some Stanley free product coupons. So be sure to stick with us because we have a lot of fun freebies coming your way. I did want to mention, for those of you who may not know, Dr. Cubitt and I are co-hosts of the Beyond the Barn podcast that is put on by Standlee. And we are celebrating this month, Dr. Cubitt, 2 years, our 2-year anniversary of doing the podcast, which is hard to believe.
It is exciting. And it's exciting when I go and do seminars or I'm writing emails and people say, "Oh, I listened to your podcast. It's so cool." I'm like, wow, people listen. That's so awesome.
People are listening. Yes. Yeah, it's so great to hear. We just released an episode on Tuesday this week, Valentine's Day. I interviewed Dr. Stephen Duran, who's the other part of PHN, Performance Horse Nutrition, with Dr. Cubitt on critical nutrients for healthy foal growth. So if you haven't listened to that yet, go check that out. Another really popular one that we've done is episode 50. This is a recent one we've done and is very, very popular. Top 10 most common feeding mistakes that horse owners make. And so if you haven't listened to that one, that will be one to add to your podcast downloads for sure. And our next episode will be releasing February 28th, Tuesday. And that will be episode 54. And Dr. Cubitt and I actually just got finished recording that on leaky gut. So a really interesting topic, and I hope you guys will tune in for that one. We also wanted to let us know who has been on one of our Facebook Live videos before. If you've attended, if this is your first one, let us know if it's your first one that you've been on. It'd be great to see who we have here with us. It'll also let Dr. Cubitt and I know how much of an intro we need to do. Anyone been on the live before? No? Yes? We're quiet. That's okay. I actually, if you guys wouldn't mind starting to submit your questions now to give us kind of a head start and everything. As we get on going on this, go ahead and submit your questions. Make sure you make them as detailed as you can. Just because, like we've talked about before, Dr. Cubitt, right? Somebody can say that they're feeding a scoop of this feed or a scoop of that, and scoops are different. Not only that, if you're using the same scoop, people scoop differently. So be detailed on what type of horse you have, how old they are, if they're overweight, underweight, what kind of activity they do, things like that is really helpful for Dr. Cubitt as we get started here. But I will say, just as a short intro, I'm Katie Starr, and I have a background. I grew up in Oregon, went to the University of Idaho, and my main experience is in beef cattle, but I'm here working for Standlee now in marketing and help put on a lot of these nutritional videos that we do for Facebook Lives, but also the podcast and fun things like that. So, Dr. Cubitt, I'll let you do a short intro on yourself as well.
Yeah, so I am Dr. Tania Cubitt, and I work with Performance Horse Nutrition, and we are the consulting nutritionist to Stanley Premium Western Forage. I am originally from Australia. I moved here in 2001, and it feels like yesterday, but it's actually quite a while ago. Went to grad school at Virginia Tech, and then went to work with Performance Horse Nutrition, and now I have a couple of kids and a farm and live in Virginia. So that's my story.
Awesome. That is so great. So, all right. Well, why don't we go ahead and let's see. Okay. So, as I said, please start asking your questions and we'll get those on to Dr. Cubitt so we can get those answered. And then also, as we go through this, sometimes we get a lot of comments coming through and it's hard for us to keep up on all of them. So if you feel like maybe we passed over your question or it's been a while and I mean, you don't have to do it right away, please feel free to put your question back in so we can make sure that we can keep up with everything, because we don't want to miss your questions that are coming in. As we get started, Dr. Cubitt, I think this would be a good time of year for us to talk about, for anybody out there, let us know, actually, if you happen to have a hard keeper or easy keeper horse, maybe you have one of each. But this time of year can be really hard for hard keepers if they struggle to keep on weight just because of the cold, the weather, and everything. So, Dr. Cubitt, do you have any insight that you can provide on how to keep weight on a hard keeper, especially during these cold winter months?
Yeah, and during the cold winter months, the other challenges we have is obviously the cold. They're expending extra energy just to stay warm, so they're burning extra calories that they wouldn't be burning in the summertime, for example, because they are just at maintenance. But now we're fighting with the weather. So simple things. I mean, most people would put their horses in if they have a shelter or use blankets, and that's going to help. But then when it comes to actually feeding them, we know, I know that the weather predictions are often wrong, but they do give us a bit of an idea of what's coming. So we know cold weather's coming. Maybe we're having a cold snap. Then feed a little extra hay prior to and during that cold snap so that those bugs in the gut, when they're breaking that down, creating extra heat, that's just one of the simple things that you can do, is just adding extra hay prior to that cold event. It might get to a point where there's just not any amount of hay in the world that they can eat to maintain their body weight, because you live in a really cold climate and it's snowing and wet, and they're old and they've got all the factors going against them. And that's when you do have to bring in concentrate feeds that have more calories, just to purely supply the calories that they were burning. Maybe using a high fat, high fiber type feed just to bring in some calories. But ultimately, we always recommend just adding more hay as the first step.
Excellent. Okay. Let's see. Okay. Bear with me just a little bit. Our normal little comment screen is actually not pulling comments through, but I know that there are some coming through. So I'm just trying to figure out how to get that on an additional screen. One question I know that's come through is thoughts on feeding free choice alfalfa considering the horse is healthy.
Free choice alfalfa, that's the question?
Yes.
It all depends on the horse. It always, that's always my answer. Well, what is the horse doing and what are the criteria of the horse? If you tell me that it is a fat horse that doesn't do a lot of exercise, then I would say free choice alfalfa is just like eating a free choice McDonald's buffet. You're just going to get fatter and fatter. But if you have a horse that is a hard keeper, so for example, then alfalfa is great because it's higher in calories. If you've got a horse that exercises a lot throughout the winter time, doesn't kind of have the winter break and continues to exercise and needs the calories and the protein to maintain that physical fitness level, then alfalfa is great. You've also always hear me here that say that the bugs in the hindgut, there's lots of different types of bugs and they all fuel on different fiber types and food ingredients. So I like to feed a wide variety of different fibers. So even if alfalfa might be my primary hay source, I always like to still add in a little bit of a grass hay. Now, there are a lot of people that just feed straight alfalfa and their horses do fine. But if I had a choice, I would always like just to throw in a few extra different fiber types.
Give some variety. Excellent.
Yeah.
Let's see. Okay. Karen says both of our horses are doing well, but we're always looking for ways to make their lives better. We feed alfalfa, orchard mix hay, and for my older gelding, alfalfa pellet soak since he's having a little bit more trouble chewing these days. So it's more kind of, I think, of a comment, but I think she's just looking to see how that diet looks for her.
And that sounds
horses.
Perfect. And if they're maintaining their body weight, then that's excellent. The one thing, and maybe you are adding this, but just didn't mention that they need to be getting some kind of vitamin and mineral source, because we know that selenium, copper, and zinc are always going to be deficient in the forages and the hays, even the best quality hay. So if the hay that you described is maintaining their body weight really well, then I would just recommend adding some kind of vitamin and mineral supplement, whether it be a ration balance or you're buying a bucket supplement that you can put your vitamin mineral supplement on, the pellets, for example.
Excellent. And Melissa says, I have 2 super easy keeper mares, but I also have an almost 29-year-old gelding. He does fine most of the year, but the past few years, he loses weight over winter. He has turned out 24/7, 365. He totally flakes out if he's stalled, so keeping him in isn't an option.
Yeah, and I mean, keeping horses out ultimately is the best. And we know that typically in the wild, horses would lose a little bit of weight over the winter time, and that's fine. What we find now, though, is that we don't want to get to the other side of winter and have this horse have lost a bunch of weight, and it's really hard to get the weight back on them. But he's going to lose weight over the winter time, so don't be afraid to increase the calorie content of his diet, whether that be adding some alfalfa or bringing in some higher calorie content grain just prior to the winter. So we're adjusting him to that, and you can build him up, and he'd even get a little cushion on him before the wintertime, knowing he's going to lose weight over the wintertime. So I always just like to be proactive so that we're not reactive, because when you have to be reactive, we typically do things quickly, and that's when issues can arise. So I would just say, it's going to happen. Start feeding him some higher calorie ingredients like alfalfa, maybe around Thanksgiving, depending on where you live.
Excellent. Let's see. Is there a chance of choke on chopped forage? Should water be added to it?
There is a choke of I'm choking. There is a chance of choke on anything. It has nothing to do with what you're feeding your horse and everything to do with how your horse is eating. That being said, there are some ingredients that we really do want them to grind and to mix with saliva so that they're really easily swallowed. That The longer the fiber length, the more the horse is naturally going to have to chew it. And so that just mixes with a lot more saliva. Caveat to that is if your horse has terrible teeth or they're just slowly failing because they're getting older, or they have things like a wave mouth where the grinding surfaces don't touch each other properly, and they're physically not able to grind their food properly, then yeah, you should wet everything. If you have one of these horses that has really poor teeth, when I say wet, whether it be chopped forage is a little different because it's probably just going to fall out of their mouth before anything. It's not necessarily going to get stuck in their throat. But when it comes to your pellets or cubed products, then if a horse has really poor teeth, I want you to wet it and literally make a gruel out of it, like a soup out of it, because they've got to drink it because they're just not able to mix with enough saliva to help lubricate the throat so they don't choke. So a short answer is, yeah, a horse can choke on anything. And I always love to add water to everything because it increases the hydration status of the horse. But it really is more about dental health and the behavior of the horse. If the horse is a dominant horse, new horse, anytime the horse eats fast, they increase their risk for choke.
Right. Yep. And on Melissa's question, she said, great. You even anticipated my question about how early to start increasing his calories. So good job, Dr. Cubitt.
Thank you.
And as I said, our normal system that we're using for bringing comments in is not cooperating very well with us. So things are going quickly and I'm only seeing a few at a time. So please bear with me. And if I skip your question, I apologize for the inconvenience, but please be sure to put your comment back in. So hopefully it'll catch me on the next break that we have. But Sue wanted to know the importance of balancing calcium, phosphorus, and magnesium. I've been adding extra magnesium for calming effect.
Okay, so magnesium is one that right now is the kind of trend of the moment. It's actually really rare for horses to ever be deficient in magnesium. There are studies that show feeding extra magnesium does have a calming effect. You have to feed a boatload of magnesium to have that calming effect. And at that amount that you have to feed, it does sometimes interfere with the uptake of other minerals. So calcium, phosphorus, always really important. Ideally, we want 2 parts calcium to 1 part phosphorus. You can go in a mature horse as high as 5 parts calcium to 1 part phosphorus. And you can also go as low as 1 to 1 in certain situations, but you never want more phosphorus than calcium because then you'll end up, the horse will suck that calcium out of their bones. As far as magnesium, though, like I said, it's pretty rare that a horse would ever be deficient in magnesium, but you do have to be careful when you are adding a lot of magnesium supplement, either from one source or you've got magnesium coming from multiple different sources, that it can interfere with the uptake of other nutrients.
Excellent. So Laurel says, my quarter horse gelding is on high dose of vitamin E due to contracting EPM prior to me owning him. Will he need the vitamin E for the rest of his life?
Vitamin E comes from fresh green pasture. And if your horse doesn't have access to fresh green pasture throughout the year, then yes, he would most likely need to be on vitamin E for the rest of his life. And because he's suffered from EPM and he will most likely have kind of some side effects from that for the rest of his life, then it is a wise investment to continue feeding him vitamin E. It's a powerful antioxidant, and it's one of those things that can be utilized in so many different biochemical pathways or functions in the horse. So I do like vitamin E.
Excellent. And let's see. Annie says, I have a 31-year-old thoroughbred gelding. I feed him the Timothy pellets soaked in senior feed. I make it like soup. He gets Redmond mineral. He is doing amazing.
Excellent. Excellent.
Yes, that's so great to hear. And Angela says, 20-year-old dressage horse has had renal failure since he was 6 years old. What is the best thing to feed him to help with adding weight and stamina now that he's older?
The easiest thing, because he's renal, so kidney dysfunction. You can add oil to the diet to boost the calories without adding a lot of extra. We do need to keep the protein not at nothing. He still needs protein, but we don't want a lot of protein in the diet because he will have to excrete extra and that will tax his kidneys. You absolutely need to make sure he's drinking plenty of water because that water will help flush the kidneys and keep them working. But I would say with kidney failure, so we're talking about hepatic, no, renal, sorry, then you can use oil as an additional calorie source. Whoa, here come all the comments. They all just popped
Yes.
in.
I figured out how to reconnect the Facebook, like it got disconnected. So thank you all for bearing with us. And we got a bunch of questions. Okay. Okay, Kim says that she has an 18-year-old Appy mare, retired all-arounder, now just trail riding and camping, 3 pounds of alfalfa pellets, a granular vitamin mineral, Joint X, chia seed and salt, free choice grass hay, 10 pounds of alfalfa daily, chubby in winter. It's cold. Easy keeper.
And if that's just a comment or you're kind of asking, well, how do we make her not be so chubby? Then I would just sub out some of that alfalfa for some plain grass hay. But other than that, looks like she's doing great.
Awesome. Okay. Let's see. Okay, we're pulling through some. Okay, Cynthia would like to know your thoughts on beet pulp. I know it's a very broad
beet
question.
Pulp thoughts. Okay. I love it. It's a super fiber. It's highly digestible. We even sometimes call it a prebiotic. So when we talk about pre and probiotics are literally live microorganisms that we put into the gut to help build the population of bugs that are already there. Prebiotics are literally the food those bugs need to eat. So some people call beet pulp a prebiotic because it is a really highly digestible fiber that feeds those bugs. As far as feeding it to horses, this is where a lot of the kind of concern sometimes comes with people. Maybe they've had, you go on any kind of Facebook group and you can ask, should I soak it? Do I not need to soak it? And everybody's got very strong opinions about beet pulp. But what I say is, again, if you have a horse that is not going to chew their food properly for whatever reason, don't have great teeth, bolts their feed, i.e. eats it fast, then you should soak the beet pulp until it is a soupy mess. In a normal, healthy horse that eats normally and has perfect teeth and is not stressed by other horses, you don't have to soak the beet pulp. We've done studies where we fed copious amounts of beet pulp to horses and had no problems. The realistic part of it, though, is most of our horses don't live in that perfect research setting, right? They are stressed by things, and they are maybe don't have the best teeth. A lot of people feed beet pulp to older horses that just don't have great teeth. So I usually always recommend that you wet it. And when we wet it, because beet pulp does absorb moisture, it is very porous and fibrous. Depends on how long you're going to have it sit. So instead of just making a recommendation that someone has 2 parts water to 1 part beet pulp, and that's kind of the blanket recommendation that you should do, I've changed the way I'm describing it to people now. And it's more the form that it should be in when you actually provide it to your horse. So if we've decided that your horse needs to have wet soaked beet pulp for whatever reason, then when you actually provide it to him at that moment, it needs to be wet and soupy. But other than that, yeah, I mean, it's low in sugars, it's high in fiber. It can be a really great ingredient.
Excellent. Now that we have our questions back, I'm going to pop them up here on the screen.
Here we
so
go.
It makes your life a little easier, Dr. Cubitt.
Mm-hmm.
Janet says, I have a 29-year-old Arab gelding with summer sore issues. Teeth are good. I feed senior stable mix 3 times a day, 2 pounds each time soaked with omega alpha equine camelina oil and flax oil, and 2 pounds of beet pulp soaked a day. I also feed him Bermuda hay, about 2 pounds 3 times a day. Teeth are good. I have to limit hay because I have a miniature donkey with him. Is this enough for him?
Okay, so the 29-year-old Arabian gelding, how heavy is he? Because we usually go on body weight. So I would say that I would like to have him eat at least 1.5% of his body weight in fiber per day. So right now I'm looking at, I don't know what the senior stable mix is. Right now I'm seeing 2 pounds of Bermuda grass 3 times a day. So we're getting 6 pounds. And, you know, let's say he was 1,000 pounds, he should be eating at least 15 pounds of dry fiber at a minimum per day. So you might, if we put in this, if the senior stable mix was a fiber-based thing, then that would be another 6 pounds. And then we've got 2 pounds of beet pulp a day. So we're up there. If it just depends. I'm not sure what the
She
senior
says
stable
he's
mix
about
is.
800 to 900 pounds.
Okay. And if he's maintaining his body weight and he doesn't have any digestive issues like diarrhea or anything, then you're probably doing fine.
Excellent. Okay. Let's see. Do you consider adding calf manna?
No, it's got the word calf in it. No. Sorry. That's a terrible answer. No, I think that there are a lot of other options that are better than calf manna for putting weight on horses and the dietary requirements of horses.
Okay. Let's see. Okay. Sue was asking about the best hay to feed a parrot mouth horse to put on weight.
So when they have a parrot mouth and the top jaw is kind of sticking, the top teeth are sticking out and it's harder. I mean, they still have some grinding surfaces in the back, but at that point, it's kind of like a senior horse that has poor dentition. I always, unless I worry about them choking, I still offer them some long stem hay. For their older horse, it's like mental health. But then I'll also make sure that I'm providing plenty of cubed or pelleted forage that they can actually consume. And maybe I need to wet it so that it's easier for them to grasp in their mouth, because that parrot mouth, he's not going to be able to nip. He's going to have to kind of take mouthfuls from the side. So I would be watching, and each horse is so different. So I would watch him and see, you know, is he able to actually pick up that long stem hay and grasp it and chew it, or is it just falling out, or he's getting really frustrated and he's not gaining any weight? It would really depend on the horse, but I'm leaning on the side of that you would have to add some wet pellets or cubes.
Excellent. And then this is more of kind of an inquiry. Janie wants to know, will Standlee be releasing chopped teff hay anytime? And I can't speak to us releasing that anytime soon or anything, but Janie, thank you for letting us know. If you guys have products that you would love to see us release, we would love to hear from you. So please send them our way, because we love to hear from you guys on the things that you feel like would be helpful with your horses. So please keep sending those our way. We really appreciate that.
And I will tell you that there are new products in the works. Keep looking on the horizon. Later on this year, you will be seeing a couple of new products that may fit your needs in that respect.
Okay, let's see. Chastity says, I have horses of all ages. I feed a high-fat pellet to them all. I have been soaking everyone's pellets due to extra water intake for winter. Would this be something I should do year-round? We also add minerals, but I was wondering if feeding everyone soaked grain, am I doing damage to their teeth by them not being able to grind the grain?
No, they're still grinding it. They're still grinding it. I say that the benefits of making sure the horse has plenty of moisture in their diet outweigh anything. I think that they're still grinding their feed. Absolutely. And you're feeding them long stem hay. They're grinding that. So
right. Yep. Okay. Jana, suggestions for young donkey. I give him Timothy pellets.
So donkeys are interesting because they actually have about 70%, 75% the requirement of equal sized horse. So it would all depend on whether the horse is, the donkey is thin or fat. But Timothy pellets along with some kind of ration balancer or a vitamin and mineral supplement. Yes.
Excellent. Okay. Haley says, pregnant mini horse, 13 years old, slightly underweight, a rescue, currently eating chopped Timothy and orchard hay. Any recommendations to help her gain?
If she's pregnant, feed her alfalfa pellets. Alfalfa is also going to be great for a mini because it is low in carbohydrates, those sugars and starches. So we wouldn't be, worrying about any kind of metabolic issue with that little mini. So I would add some alfalfa.
Okay. Caitlin says, what's your recommendation for key nutrients to aid immune compromised horses? 17-year-old endurance horse who has had every tick-borne illness in the book for the last 3 years. All seem to happen when his immune system is low and he's anemic.
100%. And you want to know why? 75% of your immune system is in your gut. So 90% of diseases can be stemmed back to poor gut health. The power of forage in improving gut health, and it's when we talk about the microbiome, all those bugs and the variety of different fibers that you feed, anything you can do to keep your horse's gut healthy will go a long way to making sure they have a strong immune system. So, you've mentioned that he's had several different tick-borne illnesses and maybe he's been on pretty harsh medications that he needs to overcome those. Right alongside those, you need a probiotic. You need to be really managing the fiber in his diet to try and keep his gut healthy, to try and help him have the best chance of keeping his immune system strong so that he can fight those things himself as well. It's kind of like it's a holistic approach. We need to use the medical drugs and treatments from veterinarians, but we also need to try and get the horse as healthy as he possibly can to fight those infections.
Excellent. Amy says, my older, coming 28 years, quarter horse is becoming a hard keeper as his teeth wear down. He's battling a bit of fecal water syndrome. Is it better to feed his alfalfa pellets dry or soaked?
Soaked, 100% soaked. And the reason is if he's got excess water coming out of him, it means it's not being absorbed. And so he could be suffering from a little dehydration. So I 100% would continue to feed him soaked pellets.
Okay.
There's often a little bit of a misconception that, if I'm feeding soaked products and my horse has a little diarrhea or has fecal water syndrome and I feed dry pellets, then it would stop it. No, it might actually just make your horse more dehydrated. So.
Okay. And let's see. So Linda is saying that she can't find Stanley Timothy long-stemmed hay. Do they offer it anywhere? So yes, we do have Stanley Timothy grass in our compressed bales. If you go to, and I'm sure you've probably been to some of your local stores, but if you go to our Find a Store on the website, you'll see it'll give you a plethora of options near you. So not only the ones near you, but maybe some in some surrounding towns or things like that. If you call them and ask them if they carry that product, that'll help save you a little bit of time for trying to go to a store and finding out if they have it or not. On our end, we don't have any issues getting that product out. It might just be an issue if a store does currently carry it, but you haven't been able to find it. They might just be having a hard time getting it stocked in themselves. So if you call them, let them know that you need it and you want it, it might help get that product back out there for you, so it's available for you when you need it. And Lori says, 26-year-old quarter appy gelding, doing fine eating coastal hay, grain, and Timothy pellets since he, I think this is a, whoops.
Since he founded.
Yep, there we go. Are cubes better than pellets?
In what respect? I would say, again, if the world was perfect, every horse would eat long stem hay because they chew it longer and it is going to produce more saliva and mimic grazing more like eating grass. But the world isn't perfect, and we sometimes don't have the storage room, or we have horses that are living longer and longer, so they don't have great teeth, so they're not chewing long stem hay. So then the next step down is chopped forage. It's a little shorter fiber length than long stem hay, and then you go a little shorter fiber length as a cube, and then finally the smallest fiber length is ground and put into a pellet. So as far as a pound of pellets versus a pound of cubes versus a pound of chop versus a pound of actual long stem hay, if they are all the same base ingredient, let's say alfalfa, Stanley Premium Western Alfalfa, they're all going to have exactly the same nutrient content. It just comes down to how readily your horse can actually get it down into their digestive system. And sometimes it's more just your budget. I can't afford to buy hay and store it, but I can whip down to the store and in my Prius pick up a bag of alfalfa pellets because convenient and easy. So as far as him being founded, which one's the best one? The one that has the lowest carbs, and that's more of a type of forage versus
the format.
The format, yeah.
Excellent. Thank you. Okay, let's see. Gina says, we just got our very first horse, a paint gelding, who is 3 years old from a rescue, and need to know how to start his diet to help them be healthy and gain weight.
And so this is always difficult when you rescue a horse and you really have no idea their backstory. Most of us are lucky when we buy a horse from someone, they come with, well, they were eating X, Y, and Z, and this is the type of exercise we were doing, and we kind of just continue that. But a rescue, you've got a blank canvas, and you've usually got a horse that may have been mistreated, may not have had the best nutritional experience in the past. So we're behind the 8 ball. So you really want to get them eating a bunch of fiber. So as much hay as they want. First thing, as much hay as they want. If you have a horse that is emaciated when you rescue it, then you get in touch with us because we've got a whole protocol on refeeding syndrome, and where you have to do it's like feeding a newborn baby. You're just supplying small amounts of alfalfa every couple of hours. But if it's just a rescue and we are not looking at it being super emaciated, then we want to get them eating hay, most likely doing some alfalfa in the diet, getting them adjusted to that, and then adjusting them slowly, probably to a grain concentrate to add in there, maybe some oil to help boost calories and build up that weight. But the first thing always is just stop feeding them hay and as much as they want to eat.
Excellent. Okay, Kim wants to know, what is better in winter when it's below zero to keep them warm, alfalfa or a Stanley Timothy grass mix?
I could make a case for both. I could say, well, alfalfa is higher in calories, so it's going to give your horse the actual calories that it will be burning, extra calories it's burning because it's shivering to keep warm. But then you could say, well, a Stanley Timothy, the bugs in the hindgut are going to produce a lot more byproduct when they're breaking down that fiber, and the byproduct is heat. So they'll produce a lot more metabolic internal heat. So I would say a bit of both. We're getting extra calories, but we're also getting that metabolic heat from those bugs breaking down. I shouldn't say metabolic heat. It's just more like heat from fermentation from those bugs in the hindgut.
Right. Okay. Karen says, I have a 20-year-old Cushing horse. I give him a half a pound of alfalfa pellets daily with a tablespoon of table salt. Should I use Timothy pellets instead?
No, I mean, Cushing's typically they losing muscle tone along the top line, and I mean he's 20, so he's not super old by any means, but losing muscle tone is one of the first things that starts to happen with horses with Cushing's, and that extra protein that you're getting out of the alfalfa will be beneficial. As long as he's not really fat, then I think your half a pound of alfalfa pellets is fine.
Excellent. Okay. Melissa says this question is to help settle a question with my barn manager. For an older horse, what is the maximum amount of a pelleted feed that you would advise giving in a single feeding?
When we're talking about pelleted grain concentrate, I don't like to feed any more than 3 to 5 pounds in a single meal. If you're feeding a forage pellet, you're really feeding that like hay, and you could feed as much as you want because they're just going to graze on it. But when you're talking about, a bagged, let's throw out purine and neutrino, one of the kind of commercial grain concentrates, then I don't like to feed any more than 3 to 5 pounds in a single meal.
Excellent. Okay. Erling says, no question, just a huge thank you. Your orchard grass pellets soaked helps my 27-year-old amigo keep weight on during the winter.
Yay.
That's so great to hear. Okay. I don't know if I missed any questions. If you guys have any other questions, feel free to throw one in there. We have a minute or so left to go. Just trying to see if we missed any.
I'll circle back around to the how much feed in a single meal and kind of just give more context to that. Really, where I come with that recommendation, and any nutritionist will come with that recommendation, is when you actually look at the physics of the digestive system, the stomach is really small because the horse is designed to be a grazing animal. He's meant to literally have a small amount of food constantly trickling through his digestive system. So if you actually look at the structure of the whole digestive system from mouth to rectum, it's not meant to eat large meals. It's meant to constantly be digesting small amounts. So in the last 3 years, the most common question I get from any one of my clients is, how do I keep my feed bill down? In order to do that, you have to start to maximize the efficiency of the digestive system. So we're not feeding large meals. We're feeding more frequently. We're making sure, if we are using grain concentrates, that they're processed grains. We're adding digestive supplements to help break down the fiber. So it just gives a little bit more context, that it's really due to the digestive structure. And anytime you're struggling with, should I do this or should I do that? Go back to, what is the horse designed to do? He's literally meant to stand out in a prairie and graze all day long and walk. So
Excellent. And we're going to do one more question before we wrap things up. And don't get off, because we have some winners to announce. So Lori says, my friend has a horse that gets diarrhea from alfalfa. My boys have no problem with it. Will he ever adjust, or just never even try? Even soaked cubes affect him.
It's just like people. Horses are more like people than anything else. And if you look at a room full of people, everybody's different. You've got one person that can eat a pizza and not gain any weight, and you've got another person who looks at it and gains weight. And our gut bugs are all different. And so, maybe if you slowly adjusted him to it, he might get better. Maybe adding a probiotic, he might get better. But if he doesn't need it, then I would just say your boys do fine. That horse doesn't, and leave it at that. It's why it really sheds light on be very careful taking advice from like Facebook forums where you just throw out a question and then everybody gives you their 2 cents worth, because nobody knows. Like, what if a bunch of people were recommending that horse eat alfalfa, and I was like, well, he gets diarrhea when he eats alfalfa. I mean, he can't have it. So every horse is different, and try to get a team behind you that knows your situation, knows your budget, knows your management, knows your horses, and can make recommendations that suit you.
Yes, I think that's great advice. Okay, as we start to wrap things up, I actually would like to mention a few things to you guys. And I'm going to share a screen a little bit so you can see. This is our website, stanlee.com. If you guys haven't had a chance to visit it before, go ahead and check it out. There are a lot of great resources on here, along with pages on all of our products that we currently offer. And I wanted to let you guys know, I know that this is a horse nutrition live Q&A, but we do have a BOGO promotion going on. If you guys happen to have any small little pocket pets, rabbits, guinea pigs, anything like that, currently we're doing you buy a box of our hand-selected forage and you will get a bag of the premium fortified food free. And that's a really, really great deal. So if you have any small animals or if you have friends that do, please let them know about this. Also, we mentioned this a little bit earlier, but we have our new product, the Premium Timothy Grass Chopped. Like I mentioned before when we were talking about finding products, go to our Find a Store locator, and you can see that at the top of this page, Find a Store. Find your local store, and you can call in. If they don't have it available, you can call them and request that it come in, or you can actually get it on our website. And then another fun little thing that I wanted to let you guys know about is there is currently, for the products that we offer on Standlee.com, so we don't offer all of our product line, but for the select products that we do offer, there is currently free shipping on US orders that are over $50. So if you've been eyeing something that you wanted to get, go get that right now. Of course, with these things, there's also some small exceptions, but you can check those out when you're on the website. We just wanted to let you guys know about that just so you knew it was available and what was going on with us. Again, another thing with Dr. Cubitt and I being co-hosts of the Beyond the Barn podcast, if you guys ever have any topic ideas that you would like us to cover, please feel free to reach out to us at podcast@stanlee.com. It's great when we get feedback from you guys to hear what you would like to hear about. And then as we're getting wrapped up here, I guess the last couple things that we have, we would love if you guys could complete our survey that we have at the end of this. We're going to throw the link in the comments so you guys can go to that. But let us know. I know this one was a little bit hectic, getting the questions in and everything. So we do really, really appreciate you guys for bearing with us through all that. But go ahead and share your feedback. One person will be chosen to win some Standlee free product coupons there. So we appreciate you guys. And one last thing is if you would like to join our community where we chat about nutrition and just being horse owners, go ahead and join our Facebook group, The Life We Live, Ride, and Love. We would love to have you in that space with us. You can ask questions. We'll put in some videos occasionally with Dr. Cubitt and I doing something a little bit more like one-on-one with a group versus this larger scale one. Other than that, what you guys probably have been waiting for, the winner of sharing our Facebook Live video, which we appreciate so much for all of you that did do that, Angela Gardenier. I hope I'm pronouncing your last name correctly. But go ahead and email us at podcast@stanlee.com. Let us know that you were the winner, and we will get connected with you to get you your free product coupons. And then our other winner for being here and attending and just being with us today is Sue. This is another name that I might butcher, so please forgive me. Pakanowski. I hope I'm saying that correctly. But Sue, please also email us at podcast@stanlee.com and we will get connected with you. But congratulations for our winners, and thank you all so much for being on here with us tonight. We're looking forward to the next one of these that we get to do with you all. So until next time, thanks, Dr. Cubitt.
Thank you.